And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token liberal. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that it's possible for a lefty and a righty to not only get along, but to be able to have a civil conversation when we disagree. Because never forget, common sense has no political affiliations. What's going on, man?
Hey, brother, how's it going?
Hey, give me 2 seconds. I got to shut off my light. I forgot to shut off my main light. Just give me a second.
Yep, do your thing. Do we have anyone out there just yet? Anyone in the chat? Or are you guys late just like we were? A couple minutes behind.
There you go. Yeah, that's on me. Everybody out there, that's on me. It's my new reboot on my laptop. I forgot to install everything. It's what a fucking pain in the ass rebooting your laptop is.
Oh, yeah, we got Leah, we got Wise Guy.
What's going on, Leah? What's going on, Wise Guy?
How you guys doing? Do you guys see a lag on Nico? I don't see it, but he has one on his end. Just let us know if you see any lags or anything.
Yeah, just let me know if something's laggy. I think it's on my side. I just think there's a driver somewhere that's interfering and it's driving me absolutely nuts. But I don't see all the comments. Like, I don't see the comment popping up on StreamYard. Like,
really?
Right now, I only have Leah. No, I don't. I don't see. I don't see Wise Guy. And see,
Wise Guy says everything's okay here.
Yeah,
it's probably the browser and StreamYard on your end.
Or no, what I think it is I have a very high-end graphic card and they just updated it. So I think that the new Windows update is interfering with my graphic card update. It's just a fucking pain in the ass. It's driving me absolutely nuts, but hey, I'll figure it out.
Well, see if we can plow through it today and then
we'll plow through it we'll plow through it all right. So
we got a great show today. There's a lot of good topics.
Yeah. Now, I want to tell you guys, Rob and I were talking, and I got some really incredible feedback last week when I was in Toronto of one of the biggest content creators in Canada. And he gave me some bit of advice on how to grow the show. So we're going to try something a tiny bit different starting today, where I'm going to introduce the top stories of the day. So before we actually get into it, I will actually take the time to speak about what I'm going to speak about. We're going to speak about. There you go. That's for you, Rob. That one was just for you. So we'll speak about what we're going to speak about.
Yeah.
And you like that, huh? So yeah, we're going to try something a bit different, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll summarize it. We'll give a little hint.
Yeah, we'll give you an idea of the 6 subjects that we're going to cover today, and afterwards I'm going to be able to take that, edit it, and make a clean like 20-30 minute video. So hopefully we can attract more people to the show. So Mark Carney just committed Canada to NATO's 2% GDP target, but Trump is demanding a massive 5% increase. Can Canada even afford it? A couple of weeks ago, the Liberals promised our armed forces a 20% pay raise to boost morale and recruitment. But now they've scrapped it. Yet they have enough money to send $4.3 billion to Ukraine. Canada just selected our new chief public health officer. And if you thought that Teresa Tam was bad, you're in for a surprise, because this woman is the definition of a DEI hire. Rob and I normally agree with RFK, but this time we can't. His new 4-year plan is just insane. If you thought that AOC was woke, wait until you see who the New York Democrat just chose as their primary leader. And finally, the mayor of Toronto is at it again. This time, Olivia Chow has a new plan to house our elderly. Are you ready? Let's do this. Oh, there you go. Let's see if that works out. We'll see if that works.
Yeah. Actually, I like that. I like that. So basically,
I didn't even fuck up.
No. Nice.
Yeah.
I see what you mean though. It'll be easier. It'll be easy to add that later or edit that later into a sort of snappy little reel.
Snappy intro
all right. So
to
and
the
then
show, yeah.
so other than that, I assume now we just kind of do our show as normal. Is that
Yeah.
that's
Right now
yeah.
we just dive into it. It's really just to allow me to be able to make easier edits afterwards, so I don't have to look everywhere. So we'll see how that goes, but that's the idea.
You'll do that at the beginning. We'll take some whatever comments we have there, and then we'll get into the first topic. Yeah, that makes sense. Nice, and I like the structure of it. Leah says, I just found out that Carney sold all of Canada's gold reserves to England. What the fuck? I think I heard that. I think that was a while back, wasn't he? When he was governor of Canada, or is that new?
No, that's when he was governor of Canada. That's like at the beginning of 2000.
Yeah, it's still.
But it makes sense. Again, it makes sense if you read his book. He says how he believes in fiat currency. He doesn't believe that we should have a gold standard. He believes that it's too hard to manage internationally as the price of gold goes up and down, and as the reserve goes up and down. He wants, because if you understand how fiat currency works, it's basically just trust. You trust that it has value, so you will invest in it. And in the US, it's not backed by gold anymore. Canada's currency is not backed by gold. The UK's currency is not backed by gold. So we're having less and less currency that are backed by gold. And we have, most of them are fiat. Similar, like, think about it. If you look at cryptocurrencies, the same thing, right? Yet this is what's funny. People will take fiat money, but they're like, oh yeah, but crypto has no real value. Well, neither does your money, bitch. It's a trust system, right? Yeah. So,
I mean, yeah, exactly. All of it is, right. Even gold, like, there's trust built into it. You can't eat gold. It can't shelter you. It doesn't have any utility value. But the thing different with gold is the trust has been built up over thousands of years to the point where a lust for gold is almost built into our DNA almost. Whereas the trust in, fiat currency, your trust is in governments. That's probably, I think most people instinctively trust, a 10,000-year history of man's obsession with gold than whatever, newest government that's been around for 200 years or whatever has popped up and is doing. So, but yeah, I guess if you really want to get really deep down to it, trust is required for any like, even with gold, I have to trust that the next guy I meet is going to value gold. I just think the trust level is higher with something like gold than, say, a fiat currency.
Completely agree. I don't have. This is why Mark Carney is actually brilliant, because what he says, there's truth to what he says, but it's the way that he wants to build that trust that fucking scared the shit out of me. It's not how he explains it, is that he wants our values, our money value, to be based on our values, and he wants to be responsible for telling us what our values are. This is the problem,
that's stupid.
Right? Not for him. It's actually quite clever for him, because he gets.
Isn't he an economist? Isn't that his whole thing?
Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. Obviously he
is. Leah says here, gold is huge for tech. Yeah, that's true. Like, when I said it has no utility, that isn't exactly correct. There's definitely some industrial uses for gold, for sure. Historically, its use as an investment or a store of money, is not a utility use. Gold is also used in healthcare. Yeah, correct. I stand corrected on that. Jimmy says, good to see you guys live again. Great way to pass my afternoon. Jimmy, appreciate you popping by again. You're always welcome. Love to hear from you. Drop some comments in the section. Wise guy, gold is money because it is rare, fungible, and real labor is required to mine it. Same with Bitcoin. It costs a lot of money and hydro and hardware to produce it. Proof of work. Yeah, I think I think the argument for I always thought Bitcoin. I never thought Bitcoin was going to be a currency that you buy and sell. I never thought that was going to be its use case, and maybe it isn't now. I know you can, but it's not. It's not a typical thing you go to the store and buy with, and it still might become that, but I've always thought it was more of a store of value, like gold, something you would buy as an investment. You would diversify your portfolio with. You'd have 20% stocks, 30% bonds, 10% gold, 10% Bitcoin. That's the use case I always saw for it. Well, I owned 8.2 Bitcoin once back in 2016.
Fucking idiot.
I know, it was so bad. Well, so I bought it when it was, I think, I first heard about Bitcoin, like, I don't know, 2013, when it was like, just this weird thing. And it was like $5 or something. I was like, oh, that's never going to be anything. And then I heard about it the next time, a couple of years later, it was $100. And I was like, oh man, I wish I bought it at $10, but too late now. And then of course, a couple of years later, 1,000. Oh, well, it's too late now. I should have bought it at 100, but too late now. And then it's 2,000. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to buy some. And this was 2018. And I ended up buying, I just come into a decent amount of money just because an inheritance. I think I put down 30 or 40 or like $25,000. And I got, it was like 2,500 a coin. I got 8.5. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to forget about it and let it go. And it's easier said than done. When you have an investment like that, I just don't have the psychology for it, man. You're checking the prices every single day. And it actually went up big. This was just before Christmas. It went up to almost 8,000 or 9,000 a coin within a few months. So I'm sitting on like, holy fuck, I've tripled my money. I've got $80,000. And then it went down to like 5,000. And that's so hard psychologically, because you're like, you think it's never ever going to go up again. And I ended up selling it at double. I double my money, right? I sold it at 5,000 a coin. And of course, in retrospect, yes, we all, like, I'm an idiot, because I'd be what it would be worth.
You'd be a millionaire, shy of, because I think it's isn't it like 125,000 right now?
Yeah, and that's, I think, and that might even be an American. I think in Canadian, I have like 1.5.
It's $107,000 American a Bitcoin right now.
So that's like 150. Yeah. So basically, I'd have like $1.3 million today. And yeah. I know. It's
that's the face he made, right?
But it's just, it's so easy to say that in retrospect. Oh, you should have hold. Look, man, it's not that easy in the moment without a crystal ball. When you just bought it 3 months ago at 2,500, it went up to 10,000, and now it's down to 5,000. Like, I'm not built for that kind of volatility. I'm just not. And it sucks looking back at it now. But I mean, that, if you knew the lottery numbers from last week, you could be a millionaire today too, right? That's how life works.
See, I'm very good at this. Like, I got investment from years ago that I bought NFTs. I bought some crypto. I bought some crypto with utilities, right? They were going to be used for something. I checked the other day. They all tripled or quadrupled, and then I forget about it.
Nice.
And then I just leave it there.
If I had that ability to just forget about it, and I told myself I was going to, I was like, I'm just going to forget about it. And I was like, the next day, what's the price? I'm literally watching minute by minute prices. And I like the gambling aspect. I like the dopamine hit. I like, you got to know yourself, right? Sun Tzu, Art of War. You got to know yourself, know your enemy. I know myself now. I'm not cut out for that kind of volatility. I'm just not. Wise Guy says, lol, Rob, I've kept mine for 5 years. Well, I mean, congrats. You're doing well. You're doing really well. How many do you have, out of curiosity?
Yeah, exactly. And then your address.
Yeah. And what's the key? What's the address for them?
Exactly. Is it? Do you still have the drive?
Just send them to me. I'll hold on for you. I'm good at that. Joseph Adamus says, I once read a quote that said, the whole world's economy rests on the gentleman's agreement that one metal is worth more than another. Yeah, that's a great quote. And I think it seems like it fits, right? It seems like it's fair. And it makes sense when at the end of the day, like, money is really a store of you can think of it as a store of your labor. If I go out and I'm, let's say I'm a roofer and I do a bunch of roofing and I earn X amount of money, normally we used to have a barter system way back before money, right? You'd have, I'll fix your roof. You give me 5 sheep, or fucking you fix my shoes, or give me a bag of apples, or whatever the fuck. Obviously, as the economy gets more complex, that gets harder and harder to do. Plus, What if you don't need anything right now? You need a way to store the labor that you did, and that's where money came in. And then, of course, once we settled on gold for whatever reason and other things, it does seem to be like, I don't know. Somewhere along the line, we all agreed that these metals were going to have value. But it is funny how it seems like it's out of our hands now. Like someone can say, oh, I don't value gold. But at the end of the day, we all do. We all, and even people who say, oh, fiat money, it's all garbage. Okay, ask them for $100 bill then, because they don't want that fiat money. Right. And of course they won't give it to you because they do value it. We all do value it. The whole point of it, as you said, is trust, right? Even fiat money has value as long as I trust that the guy at the store will accept that money. And right now, I know that he will. Of course, trust only goes so far. What if society collapses and the trust is gone, or some version of that, or the government has printed your dollars out of existence? Obviously that's another way governments lose trust. And I mean, it's a pretty interesting conversation topic. Certainly I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole anymore, because we got to get back to what we're talking about.
So 5 minutes or 6 minute rent's not enough for you?
Yeah. It was, we're cutting it down for our regular 15-minute rants.
Yeah.
And Leah says, Nico, I know where you live. we got your address, brother, when you signed up.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you have it.
Sandra Horn says, lovely, you two. Sandra, I think this might be your first day commenting here. Thanks for showing up. Hopefully you stick around.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to share my screen, man. I'm trying, and it's so laggy. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah.
Okay, well, just you can just send it to me or I'll bring them up on my end. I'm sure that our audience will cut us a little bit of slack from that. Wise Guy says, once all the Bitcoins are mined, it will never go down again. Yeah, I mean, it's basic scarcity, right? If there's no more coins being mined, then yes, the price will almost inevitably go up. I guess the one as I see it, the one weakness or fatal flaw of all crypto is it does require a functioning society at least in the way that in order to run the internet, there has to be some sort of a functioning society. Whereas, if you're a what are they called, preppers, or like a doom and gloomer or whatever, someone who is prepping for the literal end of the world. Like if the worst case scenario happens of complete societal collapse, there won't even be internet to transfer your Bitcoins to. And in that case, we'll just go back to real gold. But if that does happen, we're probably in a lot more trouble than we're probably fucked anyway. So I don't think it matters one way or the other. Leah says, copper will soon make big strides. Look into it. The USA is low on copper for their infrastructure needs. Yeah, and copper has massive utility use cases as well. That's most of where its value comes in. For as you mentioned with gold, there are some utility use cases, certainly in electronics, but most of the demand for gold does remain investment grade, as well as there's a lot of jewelry, a lot of like the Indian wedding season is a yearly thing that will often affect the price of gold, just because giving gold at weddings is such a huge tradition in India. But yeah, gold is more like first and foremost used as an investment or a store of value, and it has some utility cases. Copper, I guess maybe there's some store of value to it, but it's primarily its utility case, because it's used in all electricity transmission, right? And just so many of just things in technological infrastructure throughout the world. Take a couple more comments and then we'll jump into it. Joe Stradamus says, this is why USD as the global reserve is so important to the US. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the show last week. Any country with who has their currency as a global reserve gets enormous economic financial benefits that go as far as, like, it'll affect the trade deficits, the trade balances. It basically gives them primary, favored status in almost all transactions. It forces the rest of the world to buy their currency, which will constantly make it in demand, which will mean they have a ton of purchasing power throughout the world. There's just so many reasons why it's good for America. All right, but yeah, let's jump into these. Let's get into our topics for the day. What do you want to start with here, Nico?
We have to start with NATO. We don't have a choice. Like, everybody's talking about it right now. It's absolutely insane. I have a video. I'm going to try to play it. You guys tell me if it works or not. If not, I'll send it over to you, because this goes with what Trump said yesterday. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but last week, our Prime Minister Mark Carney said he would increase our NATO spending to 2%. That's what he was alluding to. He said that's our plan, and I'll share to you what it will actually cost Canadians if we actually indeed do that. But that was his plan. Now Trump yesterday is not only asking for 2%, he's asking the 30-ish countries that are in NATO to jump to 5%. So let me know if you can hear this video.
All 32 NATO leaders coming together to try.
Yep.
Is it working for you guys?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It ain't working for me either.
Okay. Is that in X or Twitter, or is that
that's Twitter? It's just that I just realized that WhatsApp's not even fucking installed on my laptop either. So I'm gonna just give me a second. I'll install it and I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, no worries. And while you're doing that, we can just even discuss it. I've got so trying to see here. President Trump convinces NATO allies to boost their defense spending to a whopping 5% of GDP. I don't see that as. I mean, they can all agree. They all agreed to spending 2%. That was the agreement from the very beginning. And for the most part, I don't think there are too many countries who have even done that yet. I do have a clip here of Trump making this announcement here. It's like a minute and a half. I can play that.
Yep. Go for it. I'll send you mine on WhatsApp.
I got it here. Add to stage.
Yeah, that's the one you found, right? Or is that mine? No, that's the one you found.
Major focus of our conversation was the need for other NATO members to take up the burden of the defense of Europe, and that included the financial burden. As you know, it was 2%, and we got it up to 5%. And they said, a couple of them came up to me. One in particular said, "Sir, we've been trying to get it up to 3% for 20 years, and we haven't been able, and you got it up to 5%. So they're going to be, most of them, I guess almost all of them, are going to be contributing now 5%.
Low energy.
A number that people are surprised at, but you need it today. The United States accounts for 2/3 of all NATO defense spending. And since I began pushing for additional commitments in $2,700 billion, I said to people, you don't have any money. And a lot of them weren't paying. And so I started the process, and I picked it up as soon as I got back, which is 6 months ago. And following my election last November, most all have accelerated plans to reach the 2%, 3%, 4%, and then ultimately, very quickly, 5%. And all of this is going to be done very quickly. Almost immediately. You know this. They've been talking about it, so focus. And this week, they quickly increased the defense to that 5% of GDP. And something that no one really thought possible.
There, but it's only 10 seconds
and
left.
They said, you did it, sir.
Yeah. So basically, he's of course taking all the credit, even though, I mean, it hasn't, it's a difference between NATO countries agreeing on a certain amount of spending and actually spending it. But, Trump, he's going to take the victory lap. He's going to act like, he's obviously the architect of all of this. As Joe Stradamus says here, all I can hear is me, mine. Yeah, I mean, that's Trump's ego, right? That's how he talks. It's kind of weird. On the one hand, remember the first term there, he's talking about getting rid of NATO and was cheered by his base. And now he's talking about greatly strengthening NATO. What's your take on that there?
I say scrap NATO personally. I don't want NATO to be involved at all. Like I did, those are the numbers that your mainstream media is not talking about. So we just agreed to do 2%. That's what Mark Carney agreed to. That is an extra $9.3 billion for our military spending. That would take our military spending to about $65 billion a year, yet we don't seem to have shit. So what does that mean for Canada? That means that if right now we're at 65, if we need to bring it to 5, how much do you think that makes? We're talking about more than $100 billion. For what? For what exactly? What does NATO really bring us at the end of the day? It's an alliance with European countries. So not only did he just sign security
is that what that number is? 100 billion?
It's impossible to know right now because it's all speculative. It's based on GDP. Remember, that's what it is. So they're saying,
wow,
they want 2 billion, they want 2% of GDP. That's what Mark Carney just approved. That should add another $9.3 billion to our spending. So how much would it be to bring it to 5? We don't have the exact numbers yet. But for a fact that if the 2% brings our spending from 50, it brings it up to 62.5%. That's $62.5 billion for our military spending, or defense spending, if you want to call it that. And what does that mean if we bring it up to 5%? And as per Grok, that does the calculation right now, and their numbers seems pretty right. If you look at Grok, it says that NATO's proposed 5% GDP target, 3.5% military, 1.5% infrastructure, could push Canada's defense spending to $150 billion annually, a figure Carney calls challenging. This would significantly increase the per capita cost and fiscal strain, potentially requiring major policy shifts. So we're really talking about spending, it's $155 billion on our defense spending when we spend just over $55 billion right now. And this is not directly for us. This is for NATO. Whatever the fuck NATO wants to do with it. That's the problem, right? It's not like we're not taking $150 billion to invest it directly into our own military. It's for the umbrella of NATO. So what does that mean? We're giving money to Europe to do whatever the fuck they want with it. So on one side, we have Carney that just signed an agreement for us to spend more money with the EU when it comes to digital currency, when it comes to military, when it comes to implementation of new trade agreements, instead of investing our money with the US, which is the #1 military in the world. And now he's telling us that 2% is not going to be enough. We might consider having to go to 5% if we do what Trump is asking. And I don't see us being able to say no, because what's going to happen? Trump's going to say, screw you, I'm out. And then NATO collapses. Because the video I just showed you, you have on your screen right now, is basically saying that Trump at one point is just like, we are, NATO's broke. So, and if that's the case, imagine that the US takes their money out.
We'll,
yeah, go for it.
All right, and then we'll take some comments.
All 32 NATO leaders coming together to try and appease the alliance's,
And we did a whole thing, and now they're paying a lot.
and a lot is about to be an understatement, with members set to vote to jack their minimum defense spending up from 2% of GDP to 5% in a bid to keep the U.S. on side.
We are not spending enough as Europeans and Canadians, and they want us to equalize with what the US is spending.
An eye-watering figure for the Prime Minister.
A 5% of our GDP would be about $150 billion.
I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot of, it's collectively around the table.
But despite the cost, the Prime Minister confirmed in an interview with CNN that Canada supports the increase.
We're making a commitment, but we're not locking ourselves in. We're not signing a bunch of.
The 5% number has two streams, 3.5% on military hardware like jets and tanks, and 1.5% on defense infrastructure, which can include things like ports and railroads. Canadian officials have told Globe commitment, but boosting defense spending will cost Canada at least $47 billion annually. Although when that needs to happen by is still being negotiated.
We like to see steps along the way where it can be a re-examination of the right approach.
Despite getting what he's wanted for years, the U.S. president is now casting a shadow over NATO's bedrockers are obligated to come to its defense.
Depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5. You know that, right? But I'm committed to being their friend.
The Prime Minister has not outlined a plan for how to pay for these massive increases in defense spending, Donna, but he has Canadian sacrifices will need to be.
What was the number Carney had said?
It's $150 billion.
Was it 100 billion?
$150 billion. That's where it would bring our defense spending. So, and you know, remember, this is the same guy that cannot produce a budget. So they're basically, he's giving money away to Ukraine, $4.3 billion on top of the 20 that Trudeau already gave them. He is basically already brought up our NATO spending to 2%. Now we're talking 5%, which goes from $62.5 billion to something like 150. Grok says about 150, like between 150 and 155. So let's call it 150 billion. Yet we have 1 out of 4 Canadians that's broke, that can't afford daily necessities. Like, are you what the fuck am I missing here? Like, are you serious?
Yeah. So
like, how the fuck are we okay with this?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, like, first of all, you know, I think when people think it's not necessarily just giving money to an account in NATO, it's investing in your own military and making some of those resources available for NATO. But the point of it is we have to spend a lot more than we're spending right now. I just Googled it. We currently have a budget of $67 billion for our military. So that means we don't have to almost triple our budget to make that commitment. And it's hilarious, right? Because the liberals that are cheering this, like, you know, aren't these like the no war and you know, the ones who are just saying, oh, if only we spent less money on military, we could, you know, have a perfect utopia society. And now they're like, yeah, Carney cheering this guy who's trying to increase our military budget from $67 billion to $150 billion. And as you said, take a walk down Toronto, take a walk down Vancouver. There's a lot of people already here in this country who need our help, who could be helped with that kind of money. I don't know if we should be in a place to be increasing our military budget. You know, we have to know who we are. We have to figure it out. Are we a military nation? Are we, you know, do we want to be going all over the world, you know, waving our dick around in people's faces? I don't think we do. I don't think that's the Canadian way. And Carney, you know, he's got his cheerleaders on the left, and they're all for it.
You know, this is the goal. This is the thing. We are very privileged in where we're located. We have the biggest border in the world with the #1 military in the world. We have 2 oceans that are separating us from, one, Russia, China, and the other that's separating us from Europe. So when it comes to be sheltered, we're in a very good situation. We have arguably the most untapped natural resources in the world, and yet we keep on sending our fucking money overseas, either to NATO, either to fund other conflicts like the Ukrainian Russian war, instead of developing our own oil sands, developing our own military. We literally could partner up with the US to do more military work with them instead of us spending with NATO. We could take that money, reinvest it into our own fucking economy instead of depending on countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia for fucking oil when we produce so much here. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that could be reinvested into our own economy, into making our middle class grow again and stop being so reliant on other countries. And this is what Carney ran on. He ran on being self-reliant, yet all he's been doing is signing deals with Europe and avoiding signing anything with the US. Like, it blows my mind that the liberals out there are backing him, that they're okay with us becoming more dependent on broke fucking countries that is Europe. Why the fuck are we investing with them? Why? There's no good reason. They're not renowned as military superpowers. You have the US, Russia, and China. I don't want to deal with Russia. We could have trade with Russia. We could have trade with China, but I'd much rather align with a country like the US than I do with Europe. Why the fuck are we funding NATO when they have no military per se? Like, they're not known as a world force military. They're not.
Well, no. And I mean, like, every military alliance has to have a purpose, right? It has to have an enemy. It has to have a reason to exist. Clearly, NATO's was the Soviet Union. It was, and I would say in that moment, it probably was actually useful. There was a need for it.
Sure.
That time is gone. Those days are over. There is no, the Cold War is over. And frankly, you know, we've talked a lot on the show about the new Cold War that we think is probably in the future between the West and China. I don't think that's going to, there will be a military component for sure, but it'll be primarily waged economically and culturally. I don't know that a NATO is going to be useful in that kind of a Cold War anyways, but either way, there's no point for it. It doesn't have a reason to exist anymore. And if a military alliance was formed to defeat an enemy, and now that enemy is defeated, it seems to me that the reasonable thing to do is to dismantle the military alliance. Okay, guys, thanks for coming out. Job done. You know, mission completed. Otherwise, now you've just got this giant military bureaucracy, one huge fucking hammer traveling the world looking for a nail to smash, and that is a risk to global safety and security.
I couldn't agree with you more. It really comes down to, why are we sending so much money overseas instead of spending it on Canadians? And I cannot believe for 1 second that this is not because the money is being laundered. I don't believe it for a second. There's no reason for us to be sending money to Ukraine, money to NATO, unless the leaders themselves are somehow getting kickbacks. I don't see it. I do not fucking see it. There's something, I don't care that you're a conspiracy theorist or you're not. There's a massive fucking issue here, and Canadians need to voice their opinion, because this is bullshit. It's literally 1 out of 4 Canadians, as per the food bank, are struggling with daily necessities. I've seen some studies where they were saying that the average Canadian spend more than 43% of their income on taxes. We are taxed left, right, and center. We can't keep our fucking money in our pockets. We have climate change taxes. We have a bunch of dumb fucking taxes. We don't want to get our own natural resources out of the ground, but we will give our money away to other countries that are at war. You know what? Sorry, not my fucking problem. NATO, not my fucking problem. I'm not here to defend. I don't care about Europe. I don't care about fucking Ukraine. I don't care about what's going on with Russia. I don't give a fuck. I care about Canadians. That's what I care about. And I would like our tax money to stay in fucking Canada and fix our social problems. That's what matters to me.
Yeah, and that, I think that's a fair argument, and it's probably along the lines of how I feel about it as well. I just don't think there's a purpose for NATO. But even if you're of the argument that like, no, we need to defend Europe and blah blah. Okay, sure, we don't need a NATO to do that. It's not like NATO owns any military on its own. It's all the military that's being lent to NATO, given to NATO. If they dissolve NATO tomorrow, all the military equipment that NATO controls will still exist. So you can still, you don't need NATO to defend Europe. You can still just defend Europe if that's even your priority. Should we take a couple of the comments here and then we'll jump to the next one?
100%.
All right. Angry Canadian here says NATO was supposed to be abolished after World War II since it's money laundering. Well, I don't think it was even started until after World War II, but I agree. Certainly, I mean, if you mean it was supposed to be abolished after the Cold War, it definitely was, because that was its intention. It was only created during the Cold War to ward off the threat of the Soviet Union or perceived threat. And once that threat was neutralized, there should be no need to keep going, to act as a going concern anymore. And again, as I said, if you're a military bureaucracy, it's going to want to be used. And if we keep feeding it, and especially growing it to 5% of budgets, it's going to be huge. And that's going to be a lot of pressure from the generals to everybody knows you give war people, like military people, lifetime warriors, military tools, they're going to want to use them. And if there's no scenario to use them in a reasonable way, they'll create one. That's just how it works.
1949 is when NATO was created, and it was after the Second World War, and it was formed in 1949. And I understand, back then I understand why. You just had fucking Germany that tried to invade the world for the second fucking time in like 30 years.
Yep.
So I get it. I fucking get it. But now I can't even understand the Cold War. I get it. I fucking get it. But NATO has been fucking around with the Gorbachev agreement that they made when the Soviet Union disbanded and became Russia and a bunch of other countries. They promised they would not go again. They would not go for countries like Ukraine. They would leave it as a demilitarized zone,
a buffer zone, basically, right?
A buffer zone between us and them. Yet they keep on going after those countries. So I don't see anything good coming out of NATO anymore. But you know that when you have such a big fucking machine getting fed billions of dollars a year, nobody that's in their right mind are going to want to dismantle it because they're making a shit ton of money. And I would love to see a Doge department going into NATO and send Elon Musk to fucking NATO and try to see where all those pennies are going. And next thing you know, you're going to see a lot of politicians are making a shit ton of fucking money.
Oh yeah, we know that's not going to happen. I mean, even Doge, even Elon Musk, he was pretty hands off with the military industrial complex in America.
Oh,
and that's frankly, the whole mission of Doge kind of undermines itself if you're gonna leave out the military aspect of it, because that's where like 90% or a huge chunk of the corruption and waste is.
Isn't not the CIA? It wasn't not the Defense Department that's lost $1 trillion every year for the past 10 years or something
just disappeared.
Like that?
Yeah,
they're like, whoops, we don't know where that $1 trillion is going. Yeah, fuck you. You know exactly.
Well, it's like that movie Independence Day, right? When the guy's like, well, you didn't really think they spent $50,000 on a hammer, did you? And of course. That's how it's marked down as those kind of things are put in the budget like that. But to Angry Canadian's point, the second part, like she's referring to, it's money laundering. Yeah, I think there's definitely some of that for sure. It's just good old fashioned corruption as well. Leah Jet says 150 billion from Canada is the number. Okay, so that's established. So that's the number there. Wise Guy says NATO was created to counter what they said was the Russian threat, which was not real then or now. It should be ended. Yeah, I mean, even if you want to debate that there was a point to it then, and I think there was personally, there's no debate that there's a point to it now. Like the threat, even if there was a threat, that is now gone. Nobody who thinks that's, there's not it wasn't really the threat of Russia they were worried about. It was the threat of the ideology of communism, of the Soviet Union per se.
Yep.
And that threat is clearly not the same. And even if there is a threat of communism, you can't fight it with the military. That you'd have to fight that ideologically yourself or culturally. Joseph Thomas says, "Well, Nico, if you are,
you're not going to see it.
Sorry,
you're not going to see NATO getting dismantled, and yet it should. There's no reason for NATO to be alive right now outside of European countries not being able to afford good military, so they depend on the US and in Canada in order to give them money. That's all I see NATO is doing, is using North America in order to pay for a military that they can't afford because they know that Russia's right there. They know that China is right there. That's the thing, right? We're very lucky that we're somewhat separated from the world. If we keep to our own, we keep in good agreements with the US, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We can continue doing what we've been doing as the little brother, the little retarded brother for years, right? We can continue doing that. We need to stop trying to get involved, but it seems that they don't care because they're making money. I don't see any other outcome outside of all the politicians that are involved are making fucking money with this, and we're the ones getting fucked.
Well, you brought up an interesting point. Another argument against NATO is it's essentially a welfare program for Europe. It has allowed them to neglect their own defense spending, their own military spending, because they know that NATO's there giving them this shield. If you dismantle that, that will force them to actually go out and pay for their own defense, which they have not been doing. They've been
stop pissing off people and keep their fucking mouth shut. That's another problem, right?
Yeah.
European countries do like to piss other people, but yet they have no power. But they know that if shit happens, they're gonna look to the USA guy, we fucked up here. We need you to help us out. So I understand why Trump is screw this, we're out.
You guys got to do more. Yeah. Leah says, applying life-saving measures to others before yourself risks everything. We need Canadian money to stay the fucking Canada. Yeah, that's actually a good an analogy that Nico brings up, I think, regularly, is the oxygen masks on airplanes. And there's a reason they do that, right? Because they always will tell you, there's a picture of it in your little pamphlet. Put the mask on yourself first and then your kids. Whereas intuitively, we all might try to save our kids first. But the fact is, you cannot save anyone else if you yourself are disabled or incapacitated in some way. And the same thing applies here. How can we, even if you're the biggest bleeding heart in the world and you want to go out and be a force for good and you want to, spend $50 million to make sure Bangladeshis don't shit on their beaches, that's cool, man. That's your right to think that. But you have to agree that we need to fix ourselves first so we can be in a position to even do that. Right now, we're not.
And we should just spend, I believe in being able to defend yourself. That first and foremost, you need to be able to secure your own borders. And this is where our money should be going. Whatever the military needs in order to build a strong military that can protect ourselves, that can protect us, we do it. Outside of that, fuck the other countries. They can all suck on my left nut. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of us spending all of our money overseas. But yet I was looking, just for sake of argument, I was looking at what Pierre Poliev was saying, because as far as I can tell right now, he wasn't against spending money on NATO either. So even our conservatives are not really against the idea of NATO. And I don't understand. I really don't understand why we're fucking involved in the European Union. I don't fucking get it. We're not fucking European.
So I think before we even talk about increasing spending on NATO, there needs to be a real what's the word? Some sort of a national conversation about what exactly NATO even is, what its point is, what its mission is, and if we as Canadians want to be a part of that. They're just assuming, they're taking for granted that we all want NATO, and that's not correct. Even people who might be convinced that perhaps there's a reason, like I think, are probably saying, okay, but you haven't made the case for this. And it's so typical of so many modern Western politicians. They're running these agendas, like open borders immigration, like, endless the money going to Ukraine, endless money for NATO, assuming that these are consensus positions, and they are not. We have not had national discussions about these, and they're just continuing to spend our money on their own pet projects, and people are getting really fucking sick of it.
I agree. I wonder, that's
Canadian
a question
says,
for our
would you feed
listeners. But hold on, just let me ask a question to the listeners, because you
Yep.
guys are normally very clever, and I've never thought about this before. But have you guys ever seen kind of a budget for NATO to say this is the budget, this is what we're spending money on? Like, what are they doing with our money? Like, do we have that available somewhere? Is that public information?
Yeah, see if someone can find that out. Angry Canadian echoes what we've been saying here. Would you feed other people if your own are starving, or would you feed your own and then help others? Billions of dollars spent outside your own house while your own starve helps neither side. And could not agree more.
Yep, I agree, man.
Should we? You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, all I would say is, if you're on X right now, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to restream this stream, because this is how you can help us out. If you want to join the conversation that you're seeing just below me here, you have to join the YouTube channel at the Poli Orphans. This is where the conversation goes on and on and on. And if you can see right there, it just keeps on going and going and going. So if you want to join the conversation, join the YouTube channel. And if you are on the YouTube channel and you think that what Rob and I do every day is something that is worth doing, support us. $2.99 a month. It's not even a nasty brown shitty coffee that you get at Tim Hortons. Like, it's cheaper than a Tim Hortons coffee, and you get to support independent media. God damn, I do not like saying that. I really have to get used to saying independent media. I don't like it.
It works.
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah, well, feel dirty.
And before we move on, I
need a shower.
I want to take this one. I want to take this one last comment from Joe, because I think it's a really good one to end on that topic. Eisenhower once said that standing armies were going to be the greatest threat to personal and economic freedom. Yeah, that's a great point. Eisenhower was actually the president who, in his farewell speech, coined the term military-industrial complex. He warned us what was going to happen if they left this massive military bureaucracy. And remember, this was only created for World War II. Before that, the United States was not the giant military power it has been since World War II. It was an industrial power, absolutely, but it was more or less, it was quite isolationist, and most Americans wanted America to stay out of World War II. It was only because of Pearl Harbor that they even went into it. They probably would have went in eventually, but Americans, by and large, were isolationists. They did not want to intervene throughout the world. And then World War II happened. They built up, because they were an industrial power, they retooled and very quickly built a massive military and the infrastructure to do that. The factories, the contractors, the technology, the research and development. And Eisenhower, who, it should be remembered, was a famous World War II general. So he's from the military. He's a military man. He was a general. He then became president. And he's the one who warned us, y'all motherfuckers need to take this shit seriously, dismantle this giant military industrial complex, because it will be the tail that wags the dog if we don't. And of course we didn't listen to him. And of course he was entirely correct. But as he said, standing armies are, they're a giant hammer that's going to look for a nail. And, I think all countries should have the ability to raise a strong army to defend itself, but to have just a large standing army of just professional soldiers being paid, waiting for war, that is a disaster. That is a war looking to happen. And if there isn't one, they'll create one. And we've seen that again and again with Vietnam, with Afghanistan, with Iraq, with even with Ukraine, once the war started, that's why they're plowing so much military hardware in there, because the military industrial complex, they want to see their toys being used.
I
And
have nothing to add to this. I agree. And we're beating a dead horse at this
I got
point.
you.
But man,
Yeah, that horse ain't getting any more dead. All right, guys.
Yeah.
What's the next one we're gonna move on to?
well, this kind of goes with what we were just talking about when, we're being told that we don't have we have money overseas, we have money for Ukraine, we have money for NATO. But just a couple of weeks ago, we had the minister of of defense. So we had the minister of defense tell our troops, tell our Canadian armed forces that they would get a 20% pay raise to boost morale and recruitment. Yet a couple of days ago, they scrapped it, saying that we don't really have the money for it anymore. We're going to have to find different ways to raise their pay. So I just want to put it out there. Like, I believe in a strong military. I believe that we need to be able to defend ourselves. But it blows my mind that we have people saying that all that money is just like, woo, just fucking leaving our pockets overseas, but we cannot help our own military. And it reminds me of Trudeau. Remember a few years ago, fucking Trudeau took a question in a town hall from a vet, and he told the vet, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, you're asking for more than we can afford right now. Like, that clip is seared in my head, and it blows my mind that once again we let that fly. It is totally okay for us to just spend all that money, but yet we don't take care of our veterans. We don't take care of our army. We just don't care about Canadians, it seems like. I don't know how else to take this, because clearly our government does not care about Canadians.
Yeah, I think it's like when they talk about defense spending, it usually means more contracts, more bloated contracts for that 20 or 30% off the top is going to green bombs and well-connected lobbyists. And when it comes down to actually improving the lives of the men and women in the military, they're just not interested. And I'm ex-military. I saw that. So from the Ottawa Citizen, government changing tune on 20% pay hike for Canadian Forces personnel. They said it during the campaign. It was something you say on the campaign trail, and as soon as they get elected, out the door. It's frankly, and to be fair, this is how I've seen this from both sides over the course, the last 20 years. The government always seems to, when they talk about, increasing spending on military, it never seems to actually trickle down to the men and women, certainly not to the vets. It's like, that's why the $4 billion sent to Ukraine really burned me, because that's pretty much exactly what we spend on Veterans Affairs every year, $4 billion. I know many people who have been denied claims that I served in Afghanistan with that were genuinely fucked up. A buddy of mine was denied a claim. 2 years later, he killed himself. He was living in squalor. He couldn't work. His PTSD made him so that he couldn't hold on to a job. Veterans Affairs wouldn't help him out. And what do? You're a 28-year-old man. You've got no way to support your family and kids. The pressure was too great. And the main reason why they're denying these claims is fiscal, financial. They don't say that, well, we only have so much money to give to vets. Okay, but why are you giving $4 billion to Zelensky? Most of which is just ending up in his exotic car collection and his real estate all throughout the rest of the world.
And for the people out there that never looked into it, I invite you to go check the definition of dictatorship. Go check the definition of a dictator, and then go see what Zelensky's been doing in Ukraine. You will notice right away that we have given $20 billion up to now to a dictator out of Canadian taxpayers' money. We just promised him another 4.3, and I think the US has spent over $100 billion. Like, I think the last numbers I saw was something ridiculous, like $170 billion ended up in Ukraine's pocket over this war that's going on with Russia. So we are literally funding a dictator. And the left is backing this up. They're like, oh, what a great leader he is. Go check the definition of dictator. Then go check what Zelensky does and tell me that he's not one.
Well, he like, it's a fact that he's canceled the elections. That's a pretty dictator move. You know what I mean? Like, you have a supposedly Democrat, a person who's democratically elected, who then says, yeah, but starting now is going to be no more elections. You know, that alone you can go pretty far with the guy's a dictator argument just from that alone.
You don't need to look far to see that he has turned Ukraine into a dictatorship. Like, nothing's happening unless he's saying so. And but what blows my mind is that he's traveling the world asking money from people. It blows my mind that we don't recognize a grifter. Like, he is literally a dictator and a grifter. Can you imagine if we would have given money to, like, Hitler? Oh, yeah, you know what? Government, yeah, let's invest in that guy. He's treating his people all right. People would be outraged. But yet they don't seem to be able to open their eyes to the fact that he is a dictator just because he wears military clothes, although he's a fucking actor. If you go back, that dude's a fucking dancer and entertainer. Like, he ain't a fucking military guy. He acts stuff on TV, but he's literally like, what, 5'6", 130 pounds soaking wet, and he acts stuff? And fucking give me a fucking break. I've taken dumps that were heavier than him. So don't give me that shit. Like, it blows my mind that the left keeps on falling for this shit. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it.
We'll let's see what the comments are saying about this topic. We've got Leah says stopping immigration at a cost of $82,000 per year per immigrant could help pay for our armed forces. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if those numbers are right, but I'll assume that they are for now. If that's correct, that's fucking retarded, man. Like, why are we paying anything for immigrants? You know what I mean? Like, how can you call this a net positive to Canada if all we're doing is spending money on them? Like, and there's ways that this number, it's in the healthcare costs. It's in, we did that deep dive into the skilled worker program, which is now used to bring in people to work at Tim Hortons, and the government, i.e. us, is paying half of their salary. We're paying $8 an hour or whatever half a minimum wage is for these people, so that our kids can't get a job. And they can't get a job because Tim Hortons is not going to hire our kids because they need to pay them $15 an hour if they hire them, or they can just bring them all in massive numbers through the skilled worker program and pay them $8 an hour. It makes perfect economic sense for Tim Hortons and Walmart to do all these things. And because, as Joseph
hold on. Don't switch. Let me answer the question. Let me answer the comment because it's incorrect. It is not immigrants that get $82,000. Sorry to correct you, Leah, but it is refugees. There's a massive difference between both. So refugees right now, if you make a refugee claim, she is correct. It's $82,000. And if you look,
they get paid that? They get paid that?
Just play the video I just sent you on WhatsApp. Yeah, so it's not immigrants, it's refugees. So if you come up, if somehow you make it to Canada, you can make a refugee claim until you are approved or denied or that your case is heard. And guess what? It takes a very long time for you to get heard. There's a video right there. The video went viral, the video I sent you, and it's an Indian explaining how to take advantage of the system as an Indian. It is fucking insane, but it works out to about that $82,000 a year that they can get from our government, taxpayers' money. Bro.
That is insane. Yeah,
it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
I'm gonna play it here in a second. That is insane. And I've seen several of those videos before where it's Indians or just some foreigner who's like, and there's entire companies, like there's a whole cottage industry that has sprung up around helping people get basically screw over the Western government in these with these programs. All right, I got it here now.
Just remove Leah's comment.
Share screen. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you'll see. You want to get pissed off? I'm telling you right now. You need to enable the volume at the bottom. This is how. So you need to refresh the page,
Can
and
we
before
hear
you hit the and then refresh your page. It's
that?
so fucking annoying. Instagram is very annoying for that.
$140.
I can't hear anything. Oh.
All right. All right, you guys see that?
Yeah.
From
But hold
Can
on.
you guys see that?
Yeah, but Instagram, you need to be super quick. You need to refresh, pause the screen, and then play. Hold on. I have it right here. I'll send it to you again.
$224 per day. That is
Just stop it for a second.
$140 for
I'll send you another
accommodation
one.
and around $84 for food, and that too a
I just sent
tax-free.
you another
So it
one on
means
YouTube.
around 80
Was that not working?
It stops. It's just annoying. You just if you don't know how to play the fucking Instagram, it's like a trick.
gotta-
You need it's such a pain in the ass. But I just sent you a YouTube one that should work better. But it's the same. It's the exact
Okay.
same video.
YouTube link for the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
let's
It's a lot
see.
easier to play off of YouTube than it is off Instagram.
Yeah, it's there's whole industries that are devoted to ripping off the Canadian government and all kinds of Western governments, and it's you can't even blame these people for it. We're providing incentives. It's not their fault for taking them. It's our fault for. I don't even know why we're doing this. There's no net benefit. It's all it just it feels like it's all for some. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like this agenda, I mean, I know that you obviously agree with this, and it's hard to see that it's not as some giant agenda that's being forced because there's no obvious benefit to the host country for to have these sort of open borders immigration and bring in open our borders to the third world and pay huge amounts of money to people with no obvious skills, who don't even speak the language, who are not really interested in assimilating or becoming a part of Canadian society. They want to basically bring their culture and society over here. Oh, here we go. It's just taking a second to load. All right, here we go. Yeah, this should be a lot better. And 2.
You can get up to 82,000 Canadian dollars from Canadian government for doing nothing. Yes, I am talking about refugees. If you become refugee in Canada, they will pay you up to $224 per day. That is $140 for accommodation and around $84 for food, and that too a vacation. To do this, an average Canadian earns up to 63,000 Canadian dollars in a year, and he pays over 20% in taxes. Then if he buys something, he has to pay 15% again. Although refugee has to pay that, and there are a lot other things that Canadian has to suffer. So become a refugee in Canada and get up to $82,000 for a whole year.
That is, if that doesn't make your blood boil, man, I don't know what would.
And Jonathan Harvey is a guy I had a podcast with before. He's the guy from one of the two guys from Blender News. I'm just seeing he made a video about this November 27th last year, 2024. And he was estimating that last year it was costing Canadians, like refugee costs, like asylum seekers, refugees are costing Canada $16.35 billion a year. So just over $16 billion is what the bill is for Canadian taxpayers' money. Like, why is it even more than zero? Like it's
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we have $4.3 billion going to fucking Ukraine. We have now we're talking about $150 billion to meet the 5% increase for NATO. We have $16 billion that are going to asylum seekers. Now we have what, depending on the type of work that they do, we have low wage temporary workers that the government's flipping their salaries for 30 to 70%, depending on the industry that they're in. We have fucking visas for students, and you have like 50,000 of them that don't even fucking show up to class. It's like wherever you go, Canadians are getting fucked up the ass, and yet I don't see, unless outside of having a goal that is to replace Canada's society by immigrants, to drive that 100 million in population that Mark Carney has said that he wants to have before the end of this century. So 75 years, he wants to go from 40 million to go to 100 million. And then you start to see that he's closely aligning with Europe, countries like France and the UK that have completely decimated their value system by importing immigration by the thousands, if not the millions, of Muslim communities that don't align with their fucking values. Now they have no-go zones within their own countries. Like, what the fuck, man? 40% of our students and immigration comes from India. I'm sorry, but Indian culture does not line up with Canadian culture. No disrespect to Indians, but their culture does not align with Canadian culture. So why do we keep on bringing those people in? Why are we bringing low-wage fucking workers from countries that don't even align with us? At least if those fucking those immigrants would actually align with our values, but they don't. So why the fuck are we spending on those? It blows my mind. You cannot convince me that there's not an agenda behind it, and the agenda is to change the face of what Canada is. Plain and fucking simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I know that's, you know, a big you know, sort of thing on the right is, you know, the theory, they call it the Great Replacement theory, and the people on the left like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy theory. The way I look at it, like, who the fuck cares if that's the intent or not? That's the result. Like, that's what's actually fucking happening. And it doesn't really matter if it's intended or not. It is just bad policy. And it's just clearly, like, the skilled worker program is being completely abused. It was not ever meant to bring in people to work at Tim Hortons so that your teenage kids can't get a job there anymore. That was not its intention. That is not a skilled job. We do not need to pay half the wages to Tim Hortons, an American company, by the way, so that they can pay only 50% of their employee salary. That is how you destroy the fabric of a nation. And no, much of their culture is not compatible with ours. Now, I don't personally think we should say, you know, no Indians or no Muslims can live here, but what we have to do is, baked into our immigration policies and systems, has to be a strong encouragement to assimilate, to become part of our culture, our society. Yes, bring your food, bring your clothes, you know, bring your cultural practices that are not, you know, aggressively opposed to values like, you know, female genital mutilation, child marriage, that kind of stuff, cousin marriage. Don't bring that shit. But if you want to bring your food and your clothes, sure, that enriches the culture here. But make sure it's part, you know, add to what we have going here. Don't try to create something new. Certainly don't try to overthrow our society, our values, and bring in your own, like, you know, many of the Islamic immigrants are bringing. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And even if, you know, we can quibble about whether it's intended or not, it doesn't matter. That is what's, you know, there's a saying that the intent of a system is what it does, not what it says it does. And what it's doing, whether they're intending to replace us or not, that's what's happening. So we need to wake the fuck up and get smart about immigration. And I say that as a liberal, as someone on the left. It isn't just a right-wing thing anymore. Should we
Oh yeah,
create a
take
couple
some
of comments
comments,
here?
man. Takes some of the racist comments are probably out there, right? Sarcasm.
There's definitely some of
Take
them
a
there.
couple of comments. I'm gonna refill my
I know,
coffee
not
because
actually.
goddamn.
Yep. Yep. Mitchell Connor says, I know someone who has a firm and they use Mexicans and Jamaicans to pick strawberries, but they go back immediately after the job is done. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that kind of work makes a lot of sense to me because, you know, it's hard labor. A lot of probably Canadians don't want to do it, although they would if you paid them enough. I think a lot of the argument, like, oh, you know, locals won't take those jobs. Well, yeah, they won't do it for minimum wage. You have to pay them a salary that is, you know, conducive, that makes sense for the work. But okay, let's say this people picking crops. Okay, sure, but it's seasonal, right? So it might be hard to get a lot of people just to work for a month or whatever. So to bring in people, work for a month, and then send them back, that makes sense to me. I don't have an issue with that. But that's what those programs are created for. They weren't created for Tim Hortons jobs that you know, 16, 17, 18-year-old Canadians, and also retired Canadians, 65 plus, who maybe they don't want to sit at home all day. They're retired, but they want to get out of the house. You know, those jobs are great for them too. And now they can't work there because we're bringing in, and our tax dollars are paying 50% of the wages for people who work at Walmart, Costco, Tim Hortons, all these places.
Most of the places, I was looking at the numbers, and most of the places are literally how do you call it, service jobs. So you're basically working at a low-end restaurant. That's basically where we're filling up low wages job on taxpayers' money. It's just that itself is corrupt as fuck. Just that itself is so corrupt. You're literally allowing businesses to only pay 30 to 70% of their salaries, depending on what you're getting from the government. But that's why you keep on using 50, because it's somewhat in the middle. But it's between 30 and 70%. It's insane. And it makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Because you know, that's the part that most people don't think about. Those jobs won't exist in 5 to 10 years. Because those jobs will be replaced by robots. Like, this is a matter of time, man. Technology is getting to a point where iRobot will be real. So give it another 5 to 10 years. All those low-end jobs that you're fucking getting replaced by fucking, I'm not gonna say legal, because technically they are legal. They're using the system, but they're legally here. But we're replacing our own people in low-end job and low-wage jobs that won't even exist in 5 to 10 years. That's all going to be replaced by AI and robots. So what the fuck are we going to do with those people? They have no skills. They have no reasons to be here. They're not providing anything to our society. And now we're going to have dependents. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the fuck are we thinking?
Hopefully we kick them the fuck out.
Oh, sure, we will. Sure.
Joe Stradamus brings up Joe brings up a great point here. There will be no job stealing immigrants if conservative business owners did not hire them to avoid paying a living wage. Look, that has to be said. Much of the political pressure for this kind of immigration policy has traditionally come from the right, from the corporate right, who wants an easily exploitable labor force that they can pay wages that depress the wages for the rest of society. They can you know, underpay people to do shitty jobs, and that's just a fact. It's the left has recently become the big cheerleader. Now they come at from a different angle. For them, it's just pure virtue signaling. It's ideological. They want to show how diverse and tolerant and open-minded they are. But for sure, there's pressures on both on the right and the left, and we need to understand that if we're going to actually push back on it, because it is the left that is primarily pushing for this now. But make no mistake, there are powerful factions on the right, specifically the corporate right, the business right, that very much like these immigration policies. So, you know, it isn't a strictly partisan thing, and if we're going to fight back against it effectively, we do have to understand that.
But that is an old way of thinking. That is so incorrect what you just said and Joe just said, because most businesses today are woke. Most businesses are no longer considered conservative, nor would they vote right. That used to be true 30 years ago. And we could argue that when those policies were put in place, we're just going to talk about Canada, were put in place by Stephen Harper. So they were put in place by a conservative. So 10, 20 years ago, sure. Today, that's no longer the case. Like, if you look at how many businesses have DEI practices, how many businesses are catering to the woke, because don't forget, investment firms are the ones that own most of the corporations out there. And those people have programs in place to index companies on how woke they are. And the woker they are, the more they will actually invest in them. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So what you're saying used to be true 10, 20 years ago. It's no longer true. Now it doesn't make any fucking difference anymore because most businesses are woke as shit. They will just go with the current.
Yeah.
They just want to make money at the end of the day. So I don't think that we can associate most businesses with either left or right. They're just down to profit. If that's the main source, is to be profitable, they want to have cheap labor. No matter if they're woke or conservative, this is no longer the case. I would say that you were right 10, 20 years ago. No longer today. They don't give a fuck about your politics.
Yeah. I'll definitely give you something there. That's a good point. I think you know, for the most part, I think the idea that the corporate world is on the right is mostly their opinions on things like taxation and stuff, right? They always want lower taxation, which is obviously a right-wing position. The embrace of free market capitalism, right-wing position. But you're correct. Like much of the ideology over the last 10 years has become very much left-wing, and it might not necessarily be entirely accurate to describe them as left or right. I think it's another example of that blurring of these labels, the right and left that don't really fit much of what we see today. But yeah, no, it's a good correction.
But it's not even left and right, like low taxes. And if you just look at the low tax, has nothing to do with left and right. That's libertarian in nature. That's right down the middle. It's not even right or it's not even left. That's why it's so interchangeable today. Because I agree with Joe saying that the motivation is always maximum profit. Fucking agree with that. And the left or the companies will play woke. And I agree with that. I completely look at Home Depot. As soon as Trump kind of spin the culture around not having to be woke, they're like, fuck you, we're not giving money to Pride anymore. Same thing with Target. Target has removed their whole woke crap from their store because it's no longer culturally needed. So it's really, you know, the low tax capitalism free market is not even a right versus left. It's really a centrist policy. It's a centrist belief that most libertarians start with. Actually, all libertarians start with. So it's not even right or left. It's just not necessarily left. It's more conservative in nature, yes, but it's not necessarily the right spectrum of politics.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. A good point there. I think you know, a lot of those old school sort of labels we use to describe political takes, they're really breaking down and they don't really fit. You know, and I think a good example is the fact of traditionally, of course, corporations have always, and big business has always been considered right wing, conservative. And it's pretty hard to make that case these days. But I think, as both you and Joe said, that's the crux of it, is that they've always only really cared about profit. That's their only goal. And they've decided over the last 20 years that being woke and being, you know, far left was beneficial to the profit margin. Now, if that changes, and I think it has, or if not, it's in the process of changing now, you'll see that change real fast. And and I think you're already seeing some corporations ditch a lot of the woke shit, but make no mistake, it is still a powerful force out there, and you see it all the time.
How about we?
All right.
How about we move on, because we're an hour and a half in.
Yep.
With 2 topics out of 6, we really. You know what, Lee? Yes.
What do you want next?
Yes, Lee. Hold on. She's just saying it's a big mug. And you have to remember, I'm 230 pounds, so that mug is a lot bigger than you think. Because you don't see my size on camera. But yes, it is a big fucking mug. And yes, we will be selling merch. I've already all designed it. Like you can see, there's a cap right there. Right there. That's one of our caps. I just need to create a fucking store and connect it to YouTube, which takes for fucking ever. But yes, that's where we're going.
Yep. Stay tuned on that one.
Yeah. Next thing I wanted to talk
What
about
do you want to jump to next?
is something you brought up, so I will let you bring it up. But it's all about our new chief public health
Yes,
officer.
good.
And if you thought that Teresa, the mummy Tam, was bad, that's the Chinese womanish that was responsible of our health during the lockdowns, during the whoops. You should see who we just selected as the chief officer, our chief public health officer. And if you think she was bad, wait until you see this woman.
All right, so this is we'll play this is her giving a speech a couple years back. So this is our new acting acting head of Health Canada. Hold on one second. I'll start that over. So there's a couple things. We'll let her talk, and then we'll get into
survey at this point in time. How many people have heard that 3 times? People. So about 80% of people have heard that sentence. From Canada's Changing Climate Report, but that's an indicator of the extent to which others have deemed that to be the truth. Earlier, we were someone was asking me, do you face skeptics in your role? And we do. So despite the fact, on average, of people believing that and having the confidence in the science, there's not quite 90%, significant proportion of Canadians and also this number of dockets I sign off in a day indicating otherwise. So part of our responsibility in terms of the context and ensure that we communicate at every possible opportunity what the facts are, and engaging with people that we don't necessarily aren't normal. I guess those would be some of the.
So I'll just in case you weren't quite sure exactly what she's talking about, she started that with a question to the audience. She said, how many are you aware that Canada is warming at 2 to 3 times the rate as everywhere else? And 90% people agreed, and about 10% said they were not aware. The fact of the matter is that is not true. I don't even know how you could. That's essentially just a debunked narrative. There's no facts behind it. But she's talking about it like it is factual. She is. I don't even know why she's talking about that, because she works for Health Canada. Climate change is not even in her purview, and we've seen. She actually, when she worked for Health Canada a couple of years back, and her main job was as a contact tracer during COVID. But it's just, of course, she's talking about this because it is, it's just liberal narratives, right? She's pushing clearly what is a quote unquote woke agenda, and body shame, go around and saying, make fun of people for being overweight or obese. But there has to be some sense of your head of health services. They have to be healthy, right? They have to there has to be some sort of awareness that, there's got to be the person that you're going to take advice on health from also takes their own advice. So I think that's, ridiculous. As Mitchell says here, this is her on the right. Not exactly a picture of health. She is okay. One thing I found really interesting, and I wanted to ask you guys to help here. Can you find out anything about this woman? I tried to find out where she was born. She apparently is Muslim. Honestly, she looks like a white guy. I actually thought she was trans at first. After listening to her talk, she does sound like a woman. But it's really interesting how little information there is about there. She does not have a Wikipedia page, which is really, really unusual for someone in such a high up government position. No one, like, where was she born? Where is she from? What is her backstory? The first time she appears on the radar screen is when she gets hired out of the University of Ottawa in 1997, and she gets hired directly into the Canadian government. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why it's so hard to find any information on this woman. But I just thought that was interesting. But just as someone who is supposed to be in charge of telling Canadians how to be healthy, I don't want someone who clearly is extremely unhealthy. It's bad optics.
She was born in Ottawa. So she was born on April 18th, 1984 in Ottawa, Canada. So I don't know where you got the 97 from, but if it's indeed true, she started working for the government.
Graduated.
That means she was 13 years old. Yeah, your calculations.
That can't be right.
No, your calculations don't make much sense, brother.
So I got that information from LinkedIn.
I'm just looking at her right now. So born April 18th, 1984 in Ottawa. She went to study at the University of Ottawa in chemical engineering and biochemistry. She's 41 years old, which makes sense. She began in 2000. So
say a year there.
Nancy's Hamzawi's career spans over 2 decades of leadership in Canada Public Services. She began in 2002 at the Canadian International Development Agency, directing environment programs that supported clean water and sustainable agriculture in developing countries. By 2005, she had moved to Environment and Climate Change Canada, where she held roles from Director of International Policy to Executive Director for Ecosystem and Biodiversity. And her work shaped Canada's global environmental strategies and strengthened scientific partnership. In 2015, Nancy transitioned to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada as Director General of the Office of Audit and Evaluation. So basically, we got a woman that is a career civil worker that is now responsible for her health. This is the person that we will listen to and look to her for her guidance. And she's clearly obese. She's replacing Tam, that looks like a zombie or a mummy. So we literally have two chief public health officers that could not look more unhealthy. And this is who we're going to look to in order to tell us what public health should be about. Again, fucking insanity. This is DEI hire 101 right there. This is exactly what happens when you don't credit people for their competence, but you reward them for their looks. Absolutely fucking insane. But once again, this is Canada for you. And no wonder we're fucked.
I want to show you. So you said she was born in 1984, right?
1984, April 18th in Ottawa. This is what I'm finding everywhere.
Okay. If you so this is her page, Nancy Hamzawi, and her LinkedIn page. If you go down to her experience, you see her education. University of Ottawa, master's degree, chemical engineering, 1995 to 1997. So what, she went to Ottawa and got her degree at 12 years old in chemical engineering? Now, if that's correct, then okay, no wonder why she's in this position. She's obviously an absolute genius, but I color me skeptical that is in fact man, that's it's I don't understand the information around this person. It's just, I thought it didn't feel like the way it normally would be around a high up official. Like, it was really hard to get information on them. And I don't know, seems, I'm just skeptical about all of it.
Well, hold on. Well,
yeah,
I'm not
she
surprised
just looks
just by
like
her look
a
of
white
it.
guy.
A white guy in Muslim clothing.
Yes.
But let me just
I mean,
see, because
yeah, see if you can figure it out there. I'll take a couple of the comments while you do that.
this is what is completely insane. See, here you go. So I'm just looking, because all the information, Grok is very good when you understand the information, right? When you already know what's being portrayed. So even Grok is saying that master's degree, her master's of applied sciences in chemical engineering, as noted, as being completed between 1995 and 1997, in one source being her LinkedIn that you just showed. But this is likely inaccurate, given that her birth year, 1984, which would make her 11 to 13 years old at that time. This appeared to be a typographical error.
Well,
so they're saying that it's more likely. But this is what's interesting, because Grok is estimating that like on an age, you probably graduate high school when you're 17 years old, 18 years old. She has 2 masters. So she was there for at least 5 years. So that means that she should have graduated somewhere around 2006 and 2007. Yet I don't see how you make a mistake from 1995 to 2006. Like, those numbers don't look alike at all. But not only that, but remember what I said, that she should have graduated. She joined the government in 2002. She began
when she was 18.
She began in 2002 at the Canadian International Development Agency, directing environment programs that supported clean water and sustainable agriculture in developing countries. So are you telling me that she was doing a double major in university on top of being able to work for the government at the same time? Because those numbers don't make any type of fucking sense. Because if she was born in 1984, that means that 17 years old, let's say she's a genius, she skipped a year, she graduated when she was 16, that would make her 2000. Add 4 years, 5 years, so 2005 to 2007, that Grok is saying makes actual sense. But that means that in 2002, 2 years into her college degree, when she was 18, she was already working for the government on top of a double major, and she's still, hey, fuck off. Fuck off.
Like, exactly. Sure. Like, that's what I mean. Like, there's something real fishy going on here. Of those 2 dates, they both can't be correct. Like, she either was not born in 1984 or she did not graduate from University of Ottawa in 1997. Or, I mean, theoretically, I know it's possible. There are some people who go to university, but like, if she was that would have been all over. As a child genius, she blah, 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 blah. I suspect the birth year is wrong. I do not think she's born in 1984.
You're banging on. If she was a genius, it would be plastered. I was thinking exactly that when I was reading this shit. You're absolutely right. I can't agree more. She would be praised like we would have the wokeness god out to her.
We'd be bowing down to this goddess of woke. You're brilliant. Because I mean, you could not have a better example of diversity as our strength than that. But the fact that we don't hear about it clearly, I suspect and the dates are correct, at least on the LinkedIn profile about the university. So the birth year is wrong. She wasn't actually born in 1984. So the question is, why are they lying? Why? And if they lied about that, maybe are they possibly lying about where she was born? Was she actually born in Ottawa?
Obama.
It's just
Obama.
I don't know. The fact that she looks like a fucking the fact that she looks like a white dude too. I don't know, man. Like, she's obviously, she's there's something here, man. There's something where I don't know what it is, but something's off about this. There's some funny comments here. Sylvie, I thought this too, Sylvie. She goes, "Oh, she transitioned all right," because you were reading the bio. It was like she transitioned from something. And I as you said, I was like, "Oh yeah, she."
That's why she
transitioned
was
all right.
born in 1984. She was born in 1984.
Oh, maybe that's
she
what it was.
became
Maybe,
herself
honestly,
in
yeah,
1984.
yes,
Cool story,
she
bro.
became her most authentic self. Yeah.
Of course.
I don't know.
Fuck.
It's really weird to have a high up government official there, that with this kind of weird background story, something's not adding up. And honestly, it's kind of I'm kind of gonna make it my pet project here, my hobby, to sort of try to figure out what the fuck's going on. I think the thing that I think is not true for sure is she was not born in 1984. That is quite clearly accurate. But and that's, you know, we only even found this out because we did the research, because she was appointed. The main story here is, why the fuck is this person, regardless of when she was born, why is she our top health official in Canada? You know, that's there has to be some sense of, you know, lead by example, be a role model. I'm not going to take health advice from this person, because obviously she doesn't actually believe in her advice.
I definitely don't. But you know, at the same time, she is exactly the people that told me in 2021 that I need to take a whoop whoop. Those people made it my fault that they were unhealthy. So I'm not surprised that she is responsible for her health, because I've been seeing this shit. I lost my whole fucking career because of twats like her. So at the end of the day, does that surprise me? Not at all. Zero. I would have been surprised. I would be more surprised if they got a healthy guy like me or like you as a doctor. Like, get a doctor that's in shape, that actually talks about preventive measures, that doesn't talk about taking medication, that talks about, oh, how insane would that be that our health, the person responsible for public health, would talk about dieting, exercising, sleeping well, meditating, spending time outside, maybe disconnected, maybe trying to disconnect from your electronic devices and go spend times in the woods, go in nature, try to do some barefoot walking, so that you can actually connect with the earth. No. Like, that would be too much. Like, we can't have that. But we can have obese dudes, women, born in 1984, that graduated in 1997, that have a double major at the age of 13 instead. Like, oh, come on, man. Like, come on.
Now, something's not adding up. And of course, you could say, oh, well, who cares when she's born? But it makes you wonder, like, why are you lying? Because now, you know, there's almost always a reason to lie when you know, public figures lie about this kind of stuff. Now I'm going to be on it, guys. If you want to dig into this, try to find out what the discrepancy is here. If anyone actually thinks she is this child genius getting a master's degree from the University of Ottawa at between 11 and 13 years old, man.
Double.
Let me tell you about let me tell you about the $200 a month subscription to this show, because there's a sucker born every minute.
To share. I got some air to sell you.
Yeah, exactly. Have I got some special air for you?
Oh yes.
Yeah. All right. So we'll take a couple of these comments, and then we can squeeze one more topic in, I think.
You know
I think we probably.
You talk too much, so I can do it, but it's fine. I got Jason. I was speaking to Jason this morning, because he texted me yesterday during the night, because he's in fucking California. So he texted me. He's like, "Hey man, did you see what's going on in New York?" Because remember, Jason's from New York. So I thought we'd have time to talk about the communists that just won the primary, but he couldn't do it today.
Why don't we bring Jason in tomorrow?
Bro, if you thought of it, that means I thought about it like 12 hours ago.
Sorry for stealing your thunder.
That's basically what I'm saying. Jason could make it tomorrow, but we'll have it on the show, and we'll try not to talk about crypto for fucking 20 minutes. So we'll cover the communist that is the Democrat representative in New York. But since we have one more to talk about, look at the video I sent you on WhatsApp. That is
Okay.
That's kind of gonna put all the show together, because we spoke about immigration, about refugees being able to make like $82,000 a year, but you guys need to hear what Olivia Chow, the mayor of Toronto, is proposing that we do with our elderly. Absolutely hilarious, absolutely fucking hilarious. But she wants them to live in container houses.
Is it the?
I'm not even kidding. I just sent that to you on WhatsApp.
Yeah, no,
Beautiful
you keep,
Canada on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I'm going to bring it up here in a second. Yeah. Should I look for the X version, or is it going to work if I bring it up on
All
Insta?
you need to do is, as soon as you bring it up, click on the video so it pauses. Then you can remove the mute. I don't know why Instagram videos are muted automatically. It's so fucking annoying.
All right, I'll bring this up in 1 second. But yeah, just set it up for us as I do this. So she's basically
I already did what she's saying.
Elderly
she wants her elderly to live in yep, 100%.
Voila. And then it'll solve all of our problems, all of our housing crisis solved. Olivia Chow.
100%.
All right. I will bring 1 second. If you want to take a comment or two while I do this.
Oh, no, you can go. We'll take them afterwards because I'm reading them right now.
So I got to pause it right at the start, right?
Yep. So as soon as you get it, just click in the middle of the video so that it pauses it, and then you can start. Uh-oh. Yeah, there we go.
All right. Instagram. Share the screen.
So now it's paused. Perfect. You got it. Just unmute it at the bottom to make sure.
All right.
And then let's listen to Olivia Chow tell us
muted.
why her elderly needs to live in shipping containers.
Exciting because I'm in front of a early spring this year. We're building and community center, a very well known, very good social service agency is going to come and operate it. BCA.
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, there's got to be a better solution to the housing crisis than that, right?
And it's funny because I was just
think.
looking. I thought this was new, but this was announced a month ago. I don't know how the fuck I did not know about this. And oh Jesus. Oh, that is some fucking funny. Yeah, man, you know what? Forget that one. We're just gonna run the comments for the next 5 minutes because this is fucking hilarious. Like Sylvie is saying that I think that's too much training for Robbie in one shot. Angry Canadian is saying Olivia Chow. Oh, that's funny. Olivia Chow. That is fucking hilarious.
Olivia Chow.
Olivia Chow. Angry Beaver is saying Rob's internet is being rough today. It seems it's me, man. I normally run all those videos,
it is.
But my laptop's giving me problems. So hopefully I get to fix that today because it is fucking annoying to have to train Rob on the go. Like, it's no disrespect to you.
Well,
it's just it's not the same, right?
Well, I mean, you throw me on the spot here. If I knew I had to do it, I'd have it all set up. But I'm just winging it.
Sure.
I mean,
that's fine.
All right,
Wing it, man.
It's my whole life.
Oh, we can all tell that you've been winging it your whole life.
Yeah. So yes. There's it's one of those where there's an insult in there somewhere, but I'm not quite sure exactly where.
I'm all about what we call backhanded compliments.
Yes, yeah. Well, you're not as much of an idiot as I thought you were. Okay,
exactly.
Thanks, brother.
You're a lot smarter than you look. Yes. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
really? What does that mean?
Well, you're
So
pretty
yeah, I
ugly,
guess well,
so
we
you're
got
not
10
that
minutes. You want
smart.
to just take you want to just take comments for the rest of the
Oh, yeah,
last
go
10,
for
or
it.
should we jump
Yeah,
into
go for
a
it.
final?
We don't
All right,
have time
so we'll
to
start back with
jump into
the
anything.
yeah, with a new topic. Yeah, we'll do the ones with we'll do the last two stories because I don't think we took comments from the Sandra Hawazai. So she says, let's see. So Leah says, so we have an environmentalist as our public health leader. What the fuck is wrong with our government? Yeah, I mean, that's in tune with Carney, right? He says that climate change has to be top of mind everywhere in our budgets, in our health, apparently. And I just don't agree with that at all. I mean, I know no one here on the show agrees with it, but even as someone who like, I don't think we necessarily are perfectly lined up on our opinion on climate change, but I do not think by any stretch, like I'm deeply skeptical of the official narrative. I think it's quite clear it's being used as a tool, as a way to, increase the power and wealth of certain individuals and certain people within government. And I think, but even if you believed in all that, I do not think by any stretch should climate change be top of mind in all government policies. Certainly not our public health. Certainly not our economic, our budgets.
But again, if you read
Angry Canadian. Sorry, go
but
ahead.
hold on. If you have to let me answer those comments too. But if you look at what Carney says in his book, this is the main two priorities.
No, I know. There's a bit of a lag, I think.
His main values are health and climate change. Those are the two things that he wants us to base our economic policies on. So doing what he's doing makes 100% sense. That's what he talks about in his book, Value. It's what he wants. And the fallacy is that climate does change, but it is not made by human beings. And we have a health minister. We went from our chief health officer that was looking like a mummy to somebody that's obese with a very shady past that nobody can really explain. And as you said, she doesn't even have a fucking Wikipedia page. But again, if you read Values by Mark Carney, this is exactly what he wants. He wants all our economic policies to be based on that type of crap. So it's not surprising. I'm so happy that I'm still not done his book, but I could have read, literally, you don't even need to read the whole thing. Read like the first 2 chapters. You'll understand what the book is about. And you'll see that everything he's doing is on purpose. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is not stupid by any stretch of the imagination, but he plays on people's feelings a lot, and that's what he wants to continue doing.
Yeah, 100%. Angry Canadian. Adam's apple always gives it away. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I thought that when I first saw her. I was like, okay, that's trans. That's a dude. But you never know. Angry Canadian says, I'm going to buy a burqa and apply for everything I can. You figured it out. That's the hack. That's the ultimate cheat code. That's all you got to do. Make yourself, because if you understand what woke actually is, where it's identity politics, where everyone is distilled down to their immutable traits, specifically their race, their sex, their gender, their religion. And then you rank those based on favored and unfavored. And all you got to do to succeed in the woke world is make yourself, in one way or the other, transition into it if you have to, into one of the favored identity groups, and then you're golden. And that's how you get to be health of human services here without any sort of a history or a past. I guess she could just be this absolute genius, but something tells me that ain't it.
I don't see it.
I do not see it at all. So Mitchell says probably because she's not from Canada at all, and that's just saying because we were wondering why is there no information about her. And apparently she was born in Ottawa, but apparently she was 11 years old when she got a master's degree from University of Ottawa. So color me skeptical.
I love
Canadian.
that
I was born in
expression.
1971.
Color me
Color me skeptical.
Oh, I love that expression, man. Fucking love that expression.
Angry Canadian was born in 1971. Had my master's in 1959. Yeah, I mean,
I was born ready,
head of
motherfuckers.
health services. Yeah,
Born
came
ready.
out of the womb with a burqa and a fucking master's degree. Mitchell, does she look 41? In fact, she does not.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
Sylvie, they
A lot
keep
of
coming
people-
out with these. Yeah. Don't look there. Yeah, that's right. Sylvie says they keep coming out with these freaks who come out of nowhere that we've never heard of. That's, I mean, yeah, like why? Why? Like that's a highly visible, important position, head of health services. So there should be information about this person. There should be. We shouldn't be sitting here being like none of this adds up. But this is Carney's government. That's what they do. Wise guy says, I could believe she is actually a Syrian refugee. Just saying, yeah. I mean, if you're talking like she kind of like Syrians are typically light skinned, but I don't know. When I first saw her, I was like, that's a white man. I mean, again, doesn't mean she is, but I don't know.
Yeah, Squirrel Nuts is saying
He's
he's health installed. It all seems to connect. Like Muslim values are Canadian values. Like. We know where we're going, and
As
we
you
get
know,
to witness it in real time. It is some fucking scary shit, bro.
Yeah. And looks like now we're down to shipping container homes. So that was the next story we moved into, Olivia. Devil's Due says CCAN housing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's the solution to the housing crisis. Just cram a bunch of seniors into CCANs down at the docks. Seems like maybe you could, stop bringing extreme numbers of people to the country, far more than we're building new homes. I mean, call me crazy, but that seems like a much better solution. Or, try her way and cram a bunch of seniors like sardines and CCANs. What the fuck do I know? Angry Beaver, spending $500K on a CCAN house is a new bachelor pad. Yeah, basically. And they're going to be priced like that too, right? You know that they're going to be priced at $400,000 or $500K.
No, we're going to want. They're going to be
speaking
flipped
of
by government
backhanded
bills.
compliments.
No, we're the ones that it's taxpayers that's going to pay for this shit.
No shit.
Yes, there will be values at They will say they're worth $500,000, but I guarantee you that Brookfield is not going to spend $500,000 to build them.
No. They'll spend what, 5,000, whatever it is to get the CCANs here. So speaking of backhanded compliments, Angry Beaver says Rob is a lefty, so any IQ from him surprises us. Well, thank you, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's one of those backhanded compliments there. I'm glad that I got something out of it. This is a great comment here from March Hoftacker. We are a rich country with poor people. Because we are a rich country by the numbers, but it doesn't feel like that, does it? It doesn't really feel like we're a rich country when you walk around the cities. It feels like a rich country when you see how many billions are leaving it to go to Ukraine or whatever, or NATO or whatever left-wing pet project is. But living here doesn't necessarily feel that way. Wise guy says he's working on his jihadi beard as we speak. Hey, that's the way to do it, brother. That's how you got to crack that code. Identify into that. So if you your top identity groups, if you want to get ahead, is you're looking at trans, you're looking at Muslim, you're looking at immigrant, bonus points if it's a legal immigrant. So yeah, identify into one of those and you are set. Squirrel Nuts, 2000 Moss in Germany, history repeating itself different slightly. Angry Beaver, I had to, Rob. Actually enjoy you guys. You're a good lefty. Well, okay, appreciate that. Thanks for the clarification. I knew what you meant. And I think that'll probably be it, guys. We are trying to do this thing where we are a little more disciplined with our time, and we're already 5 minutes over. So yeah, we'll put a pin in there. A little bit laggy here, and that's sort of prevented us from, I think, getting into our usual flow. So thanks for bearing with us. Tomorrow, I think we will be back at her as normal. Guys, what... First of all, it looks like there's quite a few new faces here. So guys, if you're here for the first time, normally it's not quite this disjointed or laggy. Just caught us a bad day, but we appreciate you stopping in and for your comments. If you like the show, remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you really want to support us and support independent media, you can do that by becoming a member on the YouTube channel for the low price of $2.99 per month. That will give you access to the Discord server. And and again, you'll support the show and help build the community over here. Guys, you could have been anywhere in the world today, and even as laggy and buggy as we were, you chose to be here with us, and we could not appreciate that more. This is, Nico and I, we regularly show, this isn't just a show we're creating, it's a community. Angry Canadian, hail to the chat. And it's great because as we're doing the show, we're keeping an eye, and we both love to see that, all how dynamic and interactive the chat is. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We only really take a fraction of the comments we actually get there. So guys, we really wouldn't be here without our regulars, and of course, just anyone who drops in and adds to the comments helps build this community. Remember to smash that like button as you guys leave. Come back tomorrow for a non-buggy version of the show. We've got Jason here. We're going to talk about whatever the fuck is going on down in New York City. And we'll discuss the next mayor of the capital of the world, as they like to refer to themselves. Other than that, guys, be safe, have fun, and we will see you tomorrow.